We breathe deep. Yarvelamu kuselian telekushta turias machalamu drakurirabash vahirabirias vasiliandrachum. And for those that are new to this process and hearing this recording or this call, we recognize first our life-giving Creator through the name that is Yahweh Elohim, Urukaibrus Sheshiri Katuriana, and the manifestation of God's perfect flesh in Yeshua, Ulavrish Shishirietu Tukumbriye, and the life-giving breath of God's Spirit that resides within us. Abun Solokundrevishtikilires Nasaria. And I want to begin tonight with something that God laid upon my heart. This is over 20 years ago that I was blessed to bring forth this teaching. And I'm sure many of you heard, aspects of this understanding or certain things that could be compared to this. But this was something that came out of me years ago, and then I wrote an article on it in one of our newsletters for Grace Healing. And I'm sure you've heard many different facets of the explanation of the butterfly. But I need you to recognize this instruction as different from what is commonly heard out there. I've noticed that a number of teachers have picked up over this over the last few years, and they're starting to teach very similar instruction. But I want to point you to the importance of measuring how divine loves manifests in the nature of our unions and what it will do, what it will stir in others. And as you've heard about the butterfly forming within the chrysalis, going from the state of caterpillar into the butterfly, the nature of how the chrysalis begins to peel and open and how you're not supposed to force it because it needs the compression, the embrace of the cocoon to actually force the liquids from the body into the wings to make it function. But I want to go deeper than that. I want to go into what is known as the imaginal cell, the actual cell that holds the definition in the caterpillar of what the caterpillar is to become as a butterfly. And the term used in looking into a caterpillar as they look into it through the microscopes or whatever is to describe this imaginal cell. In the form of the caterpillar's immune system sees this imaginal cell as an alien cell to its form. And its immune system will do everything it can to destroy this imaginal cell. And that imaginal cell holds the image of all things that will change within the structure of the caterpillar to move to its state of being a butterfly. And this cell is floating around within the body and being destroyed as it lives as a caterpillar and consumed. And the immune system works strong with it to completely abolish it and rid the body of this, to the immune system, this unusual or alien cell. However, when the butterfly enters into the state of the chrysalis, where it goes into the cocoon, its immune system becomes subdued. It becomes numbed to its surrounding. It becomes sleep-driven. It is going into a state of suppressed suppressed function. And during that period of time, the body begins to move in such a way that the imaginal cell is no longer recognized as a threat. And the imaginal cell begins to overtake the cells that defined the caterpillar, and the imaginal cells begin to rewrite the structure of the caterpillar within the chrysalis. By the time the immune system at its slowed state recognizes it, it overtakes the immune system as the defining cell, and the old cells of the caterpillar become the alien cells, and the immune system starts to rewrite it and get rid of the caterpillar cells, and the imaginal cell takes over and becomes that which is to be the butterfly, restructuring, reordering, resetting, redoing, moving organs to different places. The transfiguration, the transubstantiation of this form into a new state. And what does this have to do with our spiritual journey? Let's look back over history. We look upon many times God has released into our midst an imaginal cell, describing the nature of what humanity can be, freed from all spiritual influence, describing the nature of heaven on earth, describing the nature of the kingdom of God as it is now on this earth, present within us, God's holy presence manifested fully, beautiful teachers coming upon this earth. We think of people like Martin Luther King. We think of people like John Lennon. We think of people like Yeshua, Gandhi, all these beautiful people that have come upon this earth to give us the image of what the imaginal cell is. However, the caterpillar, the human form, the human body, in its immune system starts to fight and resist and kill off, murdering Martin Luther King, murdering John Lennon, murdering Gandhi, crucifying and scourging Yeshua. Many other imaginal cells coming forth from within the heavens to give us an image of what we are to become once we are freed from the chrysalis, from that dormant state of reckoning, that dormant realization of God's presence within us, and emerging from the chrysalis to become God's presence in all that we're supposed to do. Compressed within the embrace of God's love, pressing forth to become the transfigured form in God's design. But remember the immune system. Here you are, each and every one of you that are present on this call and all who will hear this message through the recordings. Take great care in how you react to others coming against the image that you provide in love. So if you're out there moving in a state of God's grace, don't be surprised if they rise up and come against it. Don't be offended. Don't feel that you've been wronged. Don't feel that you've been dismissed. Please don't look upon this personally as something that is happening to you. For you remain the imaginal cell, the one that is embracing God's love, the one that is going forth to evidence God's love, and you're seeing people rise up against it, or people bring wrongs against you in some way, or they're argumentative in the nature of how they come out of nowhere with something of a spiritual nature. We see people walking in love, walking in blessing, and individuals trying to attack them. We see individuals moving people to greater prosperity and people talking them down. People have become so accustomed to the concept of suffrage in order to gain that they can't imagine blessing coming for them without that suffrage. So if we are honestly embracing within our hearts that we truly wish to seek and embrace God's presence, and honestly be transfigured in such a way that we could be an image of God, an imaginal cell, revealing to people from within the body of humanity what it is to walk in a state of blessing, what it is to be the divine grace that is God's love in every situation. We honestly have to measure our hearts in our reaction towards others. What if somebody we love dearly, very close to us, does not function in the beliefs of God in the same way that we do? Allow them that ground. Don't come against them. Don't try to instruct them in the nature of how they must perform or be. You continue to be the example. You continue to be the imaginal cell. Don't force them from the place that they hold as a part of the body of God in the present state of grace that they are walking. If you draw into God's presence through a certain process of worship, do not force others to engage within your process of worship. If you are embracing of somebody that is close to you in the fullness of love, if they choose not to look upon God in the same way that you do, love them anyway. Be the imaginal cell by action, by love, by the willingness to move forward without their decisions, actions, or nature of belief to alter your course. Allow for it. Do not allow your belief or your imaginal state before God to become a wedge between them discovering God and the path that they're presently on. If you honestly see yourself as spiritually in the place with God where you're on into grad school, or you're in 12th grade, or you're in 4th year college learning the spiritual ground, yet you look upon somebody that's closer to you and you see them in 3rd or 4th grade, don't force them to enter in a college awareness of God's Spirit. Do not force them from the nature of their journey into what you already have been gifted by grace. As I shared a few weeks ago, remember that every single thing that you hold in awareness or understanding has come to you by grace. No matter how much you pursue, no matter what you do, the measure that you hold of understanding has come unto you by grace. Because there are other people that have searched and sought as deeply as you have, yet they have not attained that same gift of grace because they are walking a different ground, a different spiritual process. They are a different place within the process of God's grace, whether they are holding the form of the caterpillar, or they are present within the chrysalis, or they are emerging as the imaginal cell, taking full form of the butterfly to fly forth. We can't judge them in the process of where they are. We can only love them within the state that they are. And then honestly, please hear this. Search your heart from what it stirs within you. If you see somebody close to you in the depths of love, or somebody that you just met in love, and you see that they aren't able to embrace the fullness of God's love, or they can't even speak or call upon the name that is God, or they cannot reach to God's presence, please, please search within yourself first to see what it stirs and elicits within you. Do you feel offended that they can't embrace your perspective of belief? Please reach into God's presence and release that spirit of offense. Because what they are gifting you is honestly an instrument of revelation so that you might be present within them in the state of prayer, not in judgment for the state that they hold in grace, not in judgment for where they are within their journey, but honestly, introspectively, seeking the presence of God within you to know God first and to release everything it stirs and elicits within you. And as you release each of these things, you will find yourself no longer attacked by the immune system, because they won't even be able to recognize you as the imaginal cell, because their immune system won't be up to fight you off, because you will be standing as love, as God's grace. And the lesser forms they hold within themselves will not have the power to come against you. If you see somebody being attacked, or you see somebody being wronged by another in a certain way, if you embrace judgment over the attacker, you will give those that you love the power to sustain within the suffrage they're walking. You will continue to fuel the spiritual ground that is coming against them, because you are joining with that earlier state cell of the caterpillar. You are not embracing the truth that you are an imaginal cell, because you continue to return to this image that is within the caterpillar, and the butterfly will never emerge. The imaginal cell will never overtake the cell that was once the caterpillar if you continue to fuel the immune system in such a way that continues to kill the imaginal cell. if you continue to feed energy into the wrongs that are being done to another by getting angry with those situations, by naming them as vile, contemptible, or enemy. That's one thing I hear a lot in different prayer calls that I've heard from people that are talking about how the enemy comes against them. And it's like, honestly, if we are to be the imaginal cell, we have to remember that there is no enemy. There is only those who name themselves enemy. We embrace the oneness that is God's Spirit within us. Therefore, there is no enemy. We merely function, live, and dwell as the imaginal cell, moving through the fullness of the body of humanity as God's presence. And as God's presence, nothing of the immune system can harm that which is God. It is when we embrace outrage, it is when we embrace disgust, it is when we embrace judgment, it is when we embrace things that we lose our definition as the imaginal cell and we become the spiritual nature that holds the present state of the caterpillar in its form, the body of humanity in its form, because we are continuing to believe and agree with the spiritual ground, the spiritual nature that is governing things that we witness upon the earth that are less than blessed. So I would ask you, please, search your heart deeply, that if you truly wish to be that which is Yahweh's presence upon this earth, the imaginal cell of what it is, the kingdom of God present upon this earth, you must honestly breathe deep in each and every encounter and release everything of a spiritual nature that stirs within you for any situation before you, whether it's a loved one that's been wronged, a client that is out of balance or deceptive, person at work being inappropriate. Are you willing to embrace the imaginal cell of that which is God within you and become that? Or are you willing to regress back into the nature of that which is formed within the body of humanity through the spiritual influence? And you've heard me say this a million times. Yeshua said, each and everything we witness of corruption upon this earth is first spiritual in nature. If we are to embrace this, we must recognize that whatever rises before us of a spiritual nature, if it stirs something within us, that is what our charge is to do, is to release it off of us and out from within us so that it does not alter the state of the imaginal cell. And then we embrace God. We walk within blessing. No matter what the distress that is being communicated by another, we allow for this process to unfold. We stand for them as God's presence, and we relinquish everything that stirs within us. Then we begin the process of releasing everything that we see stirring within them. Because quite frankly, if we don't release it within us first, we are ineffectual in the spiritual process to bring them blessing. So I pray that each and every one of you are blessed in the fullness of God's grace and love, and that you would know in each and every breath you receive that you can embrace the holy grace of God to recognize yourself as the imaginal cell, God's holy kingdom upon this earth, manifested for all to see. And breathe deep. And we will witness upon humanity, not an imaginal cell that is destroyed and cast out by the immunal process within humanity, but an imaginal cell that has begun to be recognized because we choose not to engage within them in the process of an enemy or war or battle. We choose to engage within them through one place, Yahweh's holy presence. And even as they killed individuals like Yeshua, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, John Lennon, different people, beautiful teachers, we know that they cannot prevail because the imaginal cell will always remain present. And in my heart, I choose that above the spiritual things that are presented to me by others. I pray you'll join us too. I know that Ina speaks with this as well, and I know that she would welcome the opportunity to be present with us, but we pray in thanksgiving to know that she is with her family tonight, and I pray each and every one of you are blessed in the fullness of God's grace and love in these days to come as you recognize your place as the imaginal cell in God's holy creation, his life-giving body, and his holy and life-giving breath that resides within you. Avun so'ol v'chayina, avoyesh neklevedi esma sapirutun friarchaman. Yarveli kantoro koyera vasi sirientoro, Yeshua ulmire kabru kurtu televis nikeriandro como, Avun solporve specialiantara kamuria kete. Yahweh, God and Creator, we offer thanksgiving, praise, and worship unto you. Yeshua, we stand in awe of the authority that you hold throughout all creation. May we be heightened in the ability to reflect your nature, the perfect image that you gave of the imaginal cell, that we might recognize your presence within each and every breath that is God's Spirit that rises within us. Amen. Have a blessed and beautiful night. Know that God's Spirit is with you, and know that you are loved dearly, and we are present as you reach from Grace Healing, and we look forward to hearing from you in the days ahead. And thank you again so much for you, those do offer feedback, and I look forward to hearing from you again. Take care and be blessed.